that 200 billion coal project that has been stopped. I'll start with you, Mr. Mbijiwe. It has been had a lot of people who are against it. It's on page 1 of the Nation, as well as on the inside of the Standard. It's on page 5, and we're being told that the tribunal has stopped the Lamu coal power plant owing to a lack of consultation and a number of other things that, of course, the conservationists have been protesting against. Now, what do you feel when you see this story moving in this particular direction, Mr. Mbijiwe?
Actually, this is going to affect one of my close colleagues in the security sector.
Oh, really?
He was one of those involved in provision of security to this, upcoming project. So I look forward to calling him later today and find out how he's doing and how the company is doing. But truly, the parameters under which the tribunal has cancelled the project are just what Kenyans want to hear. We want integrity, we want openness, we want public participation. Elsewhere, they even mentioned, that there was no, the public was not involved in design, and the Climate Change Act was ignored.
Yes, exactly.
These are critical things in this country.
And coal is something that we are phasing out.
Coal being one of those, sources of energy that are accused of, emitting carbon, these ozone gases that are hurting our climate. I think it is time. And I really hail the panelists that sat in the tribunal for being bold enough to confront this truth. And even though it's 200 billion, I mean, let them go to the drawing board and do it the right way. You don't want to hurt the members and the citizens of Lamu just to put up a project that has failed to comply to the standards.
And I do agree with you, facing such corporate conglomerates is not something easy thing. So it's quite brave of them.
In fact, I will not be surprised if you hear this has been overturned. They will now go to the overdrive to fight the ruling.
They have the reach. But then one of the big issues that came out in this story is that it's the plant is being put in a very beautiful place that we would hope that the government would actually protect rather than expose to coal plants, because we know what it does to the environment with smoke, with all the smoke. Honorable Sir.
But I have a different
yes, it's
view.
okay. That's why
it's unfortunate that I have a different view. This is an investor. We require all these institutions to be here so that we can jumpstart our economy moving forward.
Yes.
Before these guys get into where they are now, I'm sure there are institutions that actually license them to be there. We should actually put our acts together as a country. We should not have allowed in the first place that all this should continue, and then tomorrow morning you just come and question what they have done.
Exactly.
Those who took responsibility of first of all issuing the NEMA report, I'm sure there was a regional report from NEMA. The Ministry of Mining must have actually given consent for these investors to be here. If they are foreigners, I'm sure they must have been given work permits and all the requirements that they can be in this country and do this kind of business that we are now discussing here. So before we blame those who engage in, let's first of all look at those who will give responsibility to make sure that all these parameters are met before we blame anybody that comes to this country to invest.
Yeah, because they put up a proposal. They cannot set up that particular plant without putting a tick on it. So we should have been, and that's why they keep talking about public participation. They did not ask the locals, the civil rights activists that are going out of their way to demonstrate and be against this were not consulted. So, and of course there are laws that are in place that were ignored. So while we cannot vilify, I do agree with you actually, we cannot vilify foreign companies, yet we are the ones that gave them the go-ahead. Honorable Winner.
Yeah, we have to put our house in order.
Yeah.
There's a notion that somebody sitting in a higher place knows what I want.
Exactly.
And Kenyans, when they see 200 billion, they rush without even knowing the implication of what that project is going to do to
it could actually cost us 200
Actually,
billion.
If it goes on, you see now it is an environmental crisis question. If it goes on, like in other areas where projects have gone, you can use lots of money in rehabilitating the people because of the mess you have put them in. So what I can say first to really say kudos to this tribunal. They stood bold. But the way to do projects for this country, the most important institution is the community. In Western world, you cannot do any kind of project if the community and surroundings says no.
For it, yeah.
So here we just baptize public participation. Sometimes we don't even know who is participating. Sometimes they are called to town to participate. But you have to ask the local community. This is what we are bringing here. These are the consequences, but these are how they are going to be prevented and all that. And they have to stamp it yes.
Yes, yeah.
Then you can be sure you are helping them.
Absolutely.
But you cannot just drop things on people and health hazards and all these. No, so I think this coal is not very good, is not friendly to environment.
It is not.
It's not friendly to health of the people. Our alternative should be sought.
And a lot of diseases have been linked to the emissions that come out of such plants. So the fact that we just sign off on this and then go back and start complaining about it, it would. I also agree, especially with Honorable Sarem, we cannot blame the foreigners.
But actually, what is even more shocking, therefore, is even to go deeper into the story and find out that AMU Power, AMU Power, is a consortium of local companies, Gulf Energy and Centum Investment.
Imagine
and Centum Investment, we all know, it's a local company. They are said to own 2 rivers. Gulf, they have Gulf petrol stations. So if these are locals, they should even worry more about our environment. If this was a Chinese investor, maybe we would say, you know, the Chinese are going for the paper, not the people.
I think the foreign bit comes in with the involvement of the whole LAPSET. It's part of the LAPSET project. Yes.
But now that this particular, you know, plant was going to be set up by a local consortium, they should be more worried about the posterity of our nation.
But we are all about that money, it seems.
But it's all about money and interest. When the issue of money kicks in and other interest kicks in, the issue of the local person
it doesn't count anymore.
But it shows that we are more informed.
In fact, but amazingly, I can assure you, this is going to head out to the courts again. Maybe they'll bring it to Supreme Court or somewhere. And I won't be amused if this is overturned again. These are vicious multinationals, and they are going to have to try to overrule this.
And at this level, I would imagine that the investments have already begun. You talked about the security company that has been...
Yes, my friend has been working there for nearly 2 years.
Imagine that. So it has been rolled out long before. So
but I also, before we throw stones left and right, we have to be also careful that if we want investors in this country, we have to be very fair, you know, because some tomorrow morning feel that this country, we don't have systems in place. You will come here, you invest, or midstream, the licenses are cancelled. You know, we have to be so careful, because I'm sure this guy's never walked into these sites yesterday. They've been there for a while now. You know, before you engage in all the activities, as you say, there's a security experts. I'm sure there's those who are actually doing so much to making sure that how much gold is there. You know, these guys might have invested also almost over $1 billion shillings. And then finally we are in this.
And I think that's the dilemma. Because we have systems in this country, but they are compromised.
It would be interesting to know if this is done in secrecy. How come we get so far, then we realize, now the common mwananchi realizes, and they're like, no, we don't want this. Then they have to be, it has to be a back and forth.
So we have to ask ourselves as Kenyans, culturally, why are we compromising things which we know very well? How many buildings have been brought down here in Nairobi, and they have all the certificates required,
approvals, they have the papers, approvals. Everything is approved.
So it's a cultural thing. We have to get out of this corrupting attitude and do what is right. Then we can now become, you know, more reasonable in front of our investors. Because after he has gone all through these things, and then you come up and tell him that this is not the right thing to do.
And that's why we're not ranking